What is wrong with special teams? They did cost us games this year. There's a lot to talk about with special teams. Vish, where do you want to start?
Yeah, so I think the thing with the Niners special teams is that they've kind of neglected it in the sense that they say, returners, just make sure you catch that punt and don't ruin it. Kick returners, do this thing and get us the ball at the 25. Punter Wishnowsky, don't switch field position, but when we punt from the 40, just down it at the 15, down it at the 11, down it at 10, right? So they're a very conservative special teams, right?
Yes, they are.
Fakes. There's nothing creative. It's just don't lose us the game, special teams. Don't.
And they are. And yet they still are.
Right. Because I think teams are starting to realize that the Niners don't really want to return kicks. It feels like they're kicking them shorter and forcing them to.
Yes, they are. Good observation.
I think the kickoff coverage generally isn't very good. And Mitch Wishnowsky is horrible at kicking off. He's horrible at it. He cannot kick touchbacks in the dome. That's a problem. He doesn't look natural kicking the ball. Like, he kind of does a Frankenstein where his his knee kind of buckles and he's like just kind of muscling it out there, rather than if you watch Robbie Gould strike a ball, it's clean. It doesn't
because he grew up playing rugby. There's no place kicking in rugby. Is there? I don't know.
Right. I don't know. There's punting. There's
punting. There's punting. Exactly. Yeah.
It's not soccer. He's not a soccer style kicker. Right. And so he's a horrible kickoff specialist, which to me is a real big problem. And then as a punter, he's a fine punter if he's punting at the 35, if he's punting at the 40. If you have to punt at the 20, he oftentimes gives the opposing offense way too good field position. And where he wasn't a problem last year is that the Niners were one of the number one, I think they were number one or number two in having the least amount of 3-and-outs. And Jimmy Garoppolo, whatever we want to nitpick and analyze about him, he was excellent on third down last year.
He was the best third down quarterback in the league. They had the number one run game. They controlled the game on offense. They didn't have very many, So
they were able to protect their special teams and protect Wishnowsky. This year, what we're seeing is that they're punting more. They're not a very good third down offense in general, whoever the quarterback is.
Can't protect.
What's really bothering me is I feel like 1 out of every 5 punts is a shank. And it doesn't show up on the yardage because he's a really lucky bounce guy where he punts it 30 yards and then the ball bounces another 10 yards. And you can see the opposing team looking around like, how? He just shaked the heck out of that.
Hey, we need to roast Mitch Wishnowsky real quick, or Richard Hightower, because people don't remember. Look, Mitch Wishnowsky, they drafted him in the 4th round, okay?
Who did they draft him over?
They took him ahead of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who almost single-handedly shut down the Niners offense yesterday. They took him in the 4th round. He was 27 years old, okay? A punter who did his punting in Utah, 5,000 feet over sea level, where his average at home was 7 yards longer than his average on the road. That's the guy they took in the 4th round. And then to justify it, Richard Hightower, the special teams coordinator, comes out during training camp, is like, oh man, this guy, he's got like 7 different punts. He's got this one punt, he's got the knuckle punt, and he's got this other punt, and people just, they're not even going to be able to catch it.
Yeah, he said they were going to struggle to catch it, right? He said it's going to improve our turnovers. I haven't seen any of those things. And I know you might say it's an overreaction. Here's my problem. The Niners invested the most in their punter in the NFC West. Michael Dickinson or Dixon. Is it Dickinson or Dixon? Dixon.
Better.
Best punter in the NFL. 5th round pick for Seattle.
Yep.
Johnny Hecker, one of the top 3 or 4 punters in the NFL. Undrafted. Mitch Wishnowsky was a 4th round pick.
Andy Lee.
Okay. He should be as good as those two guys.
Better than Mitch Wishnowsky. Andy Lee is 87 years old, and he still averages like 48 yards a punt.
He's a solid holder.
Oh, he's got that. Yeah, I like that. He does a pretty good job. He's a good holder.
Yeah, especially with all the variance with the snapping. He's done a really good job with that. But when you draft a punter in the 4th round, right, you're hoping it's Shane Leckler. You're hoping it's Andy Lee. You're hoping it's Johnny Hecker. It's Mike Dixon. Yeah. And it's really bothersome that he's just fine. And the fact that he shanks so many punts, I think their special teams on the whole is a problem, but I did want to just touch on him because I don't know if he's living up to the investment, right? If Mitch Wishnowsky was an undrafted punter, we'd just be like, he's fine, whatever. But this was a 4th round pick punter.
Yeah. Took him over Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who was not an unknown player. Everyone thought Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was going to be a second-round pick, and he fell for like reasons unknown.
Right,
I don't know.
Florida.
Yes, he did. All right, before we move on to Wentz, I got one more special teams question. Who should be returning punts and kicks, Vish?
Yeah, I think at this point it should be Brandon Ayuk. And so this was actually something we talked about. Well, my man Tico says you can't hit on every kick, Vish. Well, we miss on more punts. Go watch a Rams game and tell me how many punts Johnny Hekker misses compared to how many Wisnowski misses.
I love how committed Tico is to like disagreeing with us. Like he's in here to keep us honest, and I respect it. That's a full-time job. That is a full-time job because I'm out here spitting hot takes daily. Appreciate you, Tico. Good stuff.
Yeah, you're my man. But here's what I'll say about. I think it should be Brandon Ayuk, and I don't think it's because of the reasons that I think it's just more at this point with the way the 49ers are, getting the ball into Brandon Ayuk's hands has to be number one priority. And there's sometimes when the offense, because of offensive line, quarterback, whatever, they're unable to get him the ball as much as they should. Like, he looks like a superstar to me, Brandon Ayuk. And so I just think at this point, if you're going to maximize your winning potential at this point, you got to get the ball into get Brandon Ayuk one more touch on a punt return, one more touch on a kick return.
It could be the difference between winning and losing.
He's the one guy that can change the game.
Yeah. So if you want, I 100% agree. And there's been so many examples throughout the years of teams playing their best players at punt returner.
Right.
Antonio Brown did it forever. I mean, John
Bryant, his rookie year, they had Roy Williams, Miles Austin, and they basically Dez Bryant, right? He didn't know the full offense, and they just wanted to get the ball to Dez Bryant's hands, and they had him return punts. I think CeeDee Lamb was returning punts for a little bit for Dallas. I don't know if he still does it. So teams do this. I mean, it's not like he's as much of an injury risk. It's football. He's an injury risk on any given play. You're not increasing the risk by having him return punts or kicks at this point, and you're desperate for this season. I totally understand it maybe next season and stuff when you have all your weapons and you want to protect Brandon Ayuk and stuff. But this season, you got to get the ball into his hands any way possible. Like, he needs to get the ball into his hands. And if you can do that by a punt return and a kick return, or maybe in selective positions, hey, this is a big return. Ayuk, go return this punt. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Peterson, after his rookie year, didn't return punts. But anytime the Cardinals needed a big return, they put Peterson back there. Chiefs did it. His Tyreek Hill in 2018. Antonio Brown still did it. I mean, the Giants did it with Odell Beckham. Like, Odell Beckham has never been a punt returner his entire career, even though he was that in college. But
Deshaun Jackson was a number one receiver and a punt returner at the same time. I mean, when did Deshaun Jackson ever get hurt on a punt return? I don't know.
Yeah. Deshaun Jackson did it in Philly for years, where anytime they needed a big return, they'd put him back there. And I think it's just a way to kickstart your team. It doesn't have to be every return. It's Brandon Ayuk. You rotate Trent Taylor and Richie James for reasons only God knows already. Why not just add Ayuk to that rotation if you want? And
neither one can catch the ball. I mean, Trent Taylor apparently can, although when he goes for the fair catch and gets away, he doesn't say it loud enough, and someone else anyway. Real quick, Sean Shepard says maybe Mitch does those wacky punts on Madden. I don't even know if he plays Madden. He's from Australia. He probably is playing Rugby League Live by EA Sports.
I mean, who knows?
They're playing FIFA.
I just thought it was funny because, I was also excited because I do really value punting. I do think it's very important. And it's just disappointing that they picked him in the 4th round, and he's just fine. You would like him at least to be Michael Dixon or Johnny Hekker, like with that.
Or the guy in New England that was taken after him.